Hello, hello, Natalie Lucier here, founder of Access Ally and host of the Seamless Scaling Show. And I am so excited and honored to welcome today our guest, Kim Garst, who is an international best-selling author, marketing strategist, keynote speaker, and she's been featured by Forbes as a top 10 social media power influencer. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Natalie.
Yes. So I have known you and known about you and kind of followed you for so many years. And I think a lot of people in the online space know you. But for those of you who may be new to Kim, how did you kind of come to be where you are and do the type of work that you do? I'd love to kind of give maybe a short backstory if you have one.
Okay, unfortunately, it's a long backstory, so we'll try to scrunch it into just a few minutes. I've been in the online space for about 31 years. Used to could say, okay, over 25 years, and now I'm over 30 years. It's hard to believe. It's been like a blink. I definitely started out at the beginning of, the internet becoming commercial. I've built seven-figure online businesses over the years. A few six-figure, had really great success in my online journey. And it started though with really just having my oldest son, was a paralegal getting ready to go to law school, just had gotten my acceptance letter. We had my son and I was like, yeah, I can't do that. They laid him in my arms and life shifted, my priorities shifted. And I was like, okay, how can I, do something from home and not have to put him in daycare? So that spawned all of it. And I've had various business models over the years. I feel like I'm in a constant pivot because I see part of it is good. My journey and my length of or longevity, that's a good word for my age, right? Longevity is that I do see what's happening, what's shifting in the space, because it's always, I think that's one thing that is there's one commonality in the online space, and that is change. I feel like my business models have shifted over the years because of, hey, that's no longer working. What is working, go in that direction. So yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
I love that. And yeah, I think a lot of moms can relate to those, like, okay, like priorities shift and I have to figure out a new way to do things. And obviously that has led you down an amazing path. So that's a really cool story that you get to share. So, thank you to your son for giving you to us in a way, right?
I laugh and tell people all the time that I'm an accidental entrepreneur because literally, I just wanted to make a couple $100 when I first started to pay the car payment. That was my goal, so had no vision for my possibilities at that time, which is one of the reasons I'm super passionate about helping people find their possibles.
I love that. And so you mentioned, you've tried a lot of different types of things. Today, we're going to be talking about how to leverage your online courses to help you have steady $20,000 plus months. So we're going to get into that, but I'd love to hear about some of the things you have tried. And I know you've sold different types of programs, whether it was memberships or maybe digital downloads. Like I know you've tried a lot of different things. So can you give people an idea of some of those things you've tried? And maybe if you have examples that you want to show, you could show some as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So really all the business models that you are currently probably familiar with, from, digital products to I've had two agencies. I currently have a boutique agency that focuses just basically on clear messaging. And the fascinating part about the internet is, like I said before, the changes, and what used to work doesn't work as well anymore. Currently, I have two membership programs, which I would love to show. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. And I'm not showing you these things necessarily through the lens of, hey, you go do these things. I'm sharing them so you can see the possibilities. One of the things that I have really appreciated about Access Ally is the fact that we've been able to build out the back end for our entire business model, which incorporates quite a few things. We sell digital products, we sell online courses, we have 2 memberships, all the things. And I wanted to show that to you so you can see how we have it laid out. Now, in the member area, if you've purchased something, you have all the things. Like, here's some of our things: our Business Builders Academy, or here's a signature course. This is more of just a small digital product. The whole thing, everything that we basically sell that's a digital deliverable, maybe, or that you log in to get, is set up. Now I'm going to show you the individual things because I think this is important too. So this is our Go Social Content Club. This is a membership. It ranges depending on if you're an individual or an agency, you can check that out if you want at Go Social Content Club. And we've set it up to where everything is organized very nice and neatly. So here's all the July images. These are social media images, pre-designed, and then you can brand them as well within the platform, which is also, again, speaks to the functionality of Access Ally. I'm sorry, I'm not here to be the voice necessarily for Access Ally, but I'm excited about it because the possibilities are super powerful. So if you open up any of these months, you can see all the social content, social images that have been created for that particular month. And then we have my Business Builders Academy is my second membership, and all of the courses are broke out, and you can see that it's very different look, right? So we were able to customize the look for each individual thing based on, again, the fact that Access Ally allows us to do these things. But all the list building courses are here. There's about 60 or 70 courses in my Business Builders Academy: business systems, marketing, monetization, productivity. It's just broken down. And of course, each of them have their own little, you log in or you click on them and you go into each individual one. And then of course, we have collections, social media image collections. And this is more of a traditional signature course. So, this is my Facebook groups course, and it's set up modular style. One of the things that I think is interesting about the shifts, we talked briefly about the shifts in the space and all the things I've done, from agencies to, signature courses to coaching, all the things. I think what I'm seeing right now is a shift. And you were talking about, how do you get to those 20K months? And can I just share how you do it quickly? Okay, stop trying to sell $7 things. Okay. Or stop. It's not that you can't still sell those, but that's not going to get you to 20K months without a lot of effort or a big community that you can sell low ticket things into. The shift today, and I would even say, stop trying to sell your standalone course. Nobody's going through them. Newsflash, you're not helping people. You're selling them something, and you're kind of, letting yourself off the hook because you're like, I delivered the goodies. It's up to them. But we're kind of still on the hook because we're after a transformation for people. If we just collect their money and, they send them on their way, you haven't helped them any, because like I say, people aren't going through it. So the shift is this: it is creating what I would call a hybrid model, or that's kind of the phrase everybody's using right now, which is a combination of knowledge, curriculum. I call it the 3 C's: curriculum, coaching, because they need you. They need your expertise. They're not going to go through your content unless you guide them. So you're their guide, you're their coach, and community. And then sell it for a ticket price that is worthy of your knowledge. You spend a lot of time acquiring knowledge, acquiring the know-how to put the course together to begin with. Time, energy, money. In most cases, you've spent money to acquire that knowledge, whether you went to a traditional college or you worked for it, meaning you went to a traditional job. Whatever your knowledge base is, you worked hard to get it, and yet you're going to give it away for $297. Stop. repackage it, reposition it, and sell it for $5,000 or more. And then you only need 4 people to buy it every month. Boom, you're there.
I love that. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to look at what my competitors are doing or people in the space, and then I'll price like slightly above or slightly below. And then people will just compare our prices and our offerings. But if you make a big jump and change the way that you deliver it, and you're not just delivering the same thing, but you're actually going above and beyond with the coaching element and the community element, that is where the value really comes in. And then you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to oranges. And then people will see that value and be a lot more happy with the results they get in the program that you're creating. So I love that so much. And
what I have found is I really am getting the transformation for people. I mean, it was so disheartening. At the beginning of every year, we evaluate the business, what's working, what isn't. And this past year, we looked at all the video views. I mean, I'm creating a course a month for the Business Builders Academy, and nobody's watching this content. I'm killing myself to create all this stuff, and then nobody's going through it. I'm like, whoa, Nally, this is broke. This model is broke. My husband says, that he often says this. He says, why are good things expensive? Because they're worth it. So you are worth it, and put a price tag on it. There's a value proposition to, if somebody's saying, hey, I'm going to give you the kitchen sink for $7, do you really believe that?
Absolutely. And there's definitely a place for those lower tier offers. And I think one of the things that you do great is you talk a lot about how to turn cold traffic into people who are willing to buy from you. And I know sometimes people say you need that low price offer to get people to trust you and kind of have a good experience at the lower end before you sell the higher end. But I don't think that's necessarily required if you know how to get people to warm up and trust you and kind of get the value they need before they jump into a higher end program. So can you talk a little bit about how you do that? I know you do that through live video and you have other really awesome ways of doing it, but I feel like that might be the missing link for people too.
So I'm going to say this from a place of experience because I've done the low ticket things. I've built my list primarily off of the back of freebies, meaning, hey, this is something value-based for free, sign up for it, grab it, right? What I have found is that I have built a list of freebie seekers and instead of buyers. And I hope when you're listening, it's not that I'm saying you shouldn't have a freebie or that you shouldn't have low ticket things. I'm not saying that, but I feel like there's a better way. And I'm going to share the better way because I've had the experience of doing it the other way that I just said, the freebies and the low ticket things. And then I've started doing it a new way and I'm getting so much better results. So the new way is and primarily through video. I'm using video, whether it's live video or, video that's intentionally created to speak to the problems that I know my person has. And then really setting the stage for, I have a solution to those problems. So I just, I call it a flywheel. It's a problem flywheel, essentially, where you're creating all these individual videos that are speaking to the problems that your person has. In some cases, they're objections too, where you can shoot the objection in the foot. And then you use that content to attract your person to you. They're like, oh, yes, girl, speak. You're saying it. And they're like, you're in my head. And so that video content has been so powerful for me because it has taken it weeds out the freebie person. It also nurtures that person through a buying process that I'm not really having to facilitate with a automated webinar, for example, that everybody leaves a halfway point or when you get ready to sell, right? So they do it on their own. It's kind of like a Netflix effect. And by the time they get ready to book a call, they're already pretty much sold. You just have to answer any questions they have and sell them your higher ticket thing. So it just works so much more effectively. And I've been able to make thousands more a month with this strategy versus trying to sell $47 things.
I love that. And so when you're talking about these videos that you're creating, and you said some of them might be live, some of them might be pre-recorded, are you posting them on YouTube, on your website, on social media directly? What's your strategy for getting those out there so people actually find them?
The short answer is everywhere. And we have tried to start, we're really on a big mission right now for repurposing. So like if I'm doing a quick little video on 3 ways to do Z, right? We are pulling out the 3 ways and using them, like we're creating those right now actually, but I think this is going to be a really solid strategy to pull the 3 things out and then redirect them back to the bigger video, right? So, if it's 3 ways to whatever, 3 ways to get more clients every month, then the 3 ways they'll pull out those 3 things from the original video. We'll create a small little, reel or story, or we're even going to use those smaller bits of video content for YouTube shorts and all the places. Instead of trying to, I feel like that's something we've all done over the years, is create content for content's sake and then not milk it. So be more intentional with your content and then milk it, use it in all the places.
I feel like I can definitely vouch for you're on this content creation hamster wheel, but then you finish it and then you're like, okay, on to the next thing. And you forget that you've already put all this effort into it. And why not use it in all the different places and take snippets? I love that. That's such a great repurposing concept.
Even going back to existing content that you haven't thought about for a while. Like if you've been blogging, for example, even if that content is 2 or 3 years old and you haven't, if it's still true, evergreen, meaning, it still has life, then just record it. Like use that blog post as a script, if you will, and record it, make it a video. And now you haven't had to sit down and figure out what you're going to talk about, because you already have the idea, the content, the concept, and then you just create a piece of content that's different around that same piece of content. I think we just work so hard to come up with the next great idea when we've already had some great ideas. We just have to leverage them.
Ah, that is so good. Yes, using what you already have and making the most of it before you try to create new. So I think that's so brilliant. So when you, I feel like when you go on video, people really connect with you. Is there something that you do? Maybe it's because you've practiced so much. Some people might not be as comfortable on video. What tips do you have so people, when they do decide to do video, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to connect with people, even though it's just me and a camera and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing? What kind of advice could you give people here?
So most people think just because I started, or they see me now, that I'm a natural or whatever when it comes to video. So when back in the day before a live video, I would have to do video still. Video's been a thing for a while. My team hated me on video days. I would lock myself in a room. I would record it 50 times. We would edit it to death because it had to be perfect. So video was not my thing at all. At all. I would struggle to maintain this, or, if I didn't have a script, I couldn't follow along. I mean, it was just a nightmare. So if you're that person who you're like, yeah, you can do it, but I can't, trust me. I was that person. I am you in this moment. When live video came around, I was like, yeah, no, that ain't me. What? It's unscripted. I have to get out there. I have to put myself out there, and I'm not doing that. But I did it a couple of times, one with friends in a couple of situations. And then one, I wasn't on camera. I was showcasing an event, for example, and thousands of people showed up. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I mean, I could do a webinar and I can have, 1,000 people sign up, 200 maybe show up live. I've got thousands of people right now that are looking at, I have their attention in the moment. There's something to this. So I'm like, okay, let's see what I can do with this. So I just embraced it. And I quickly realized that people didn't care if my hair was sticking up or my nose was shiny, or they just wanted the content. They didn't care if I tripped over my words. And so I just got over myself. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. So it just was an evolution. I can't say that I'm necessarily, I didn't start out where I'm at today, is my point. I just had to get better at it, and really having to get over myself, realizing it's not about me at all. If you care about your person, show up. If you don't, continue to hide under a bushel barrel. But that's not you, because I know that's not you, because you do care. I'm speaking to all of you that are listening. You do care. You just have to get over your own insecurities. Because live video across the board is the most effective way to build the know, like, and trust factor at a super accelerated rate.
I love that. Yes. And that's definitely been the case in my business too. I started off doing video fairly early on, and I feel like my business took off as a result. And then I kind of stepped back after I had kids, and I was like, there's no quiet moments, and I don't think I can do this at home. But now, I'm back on video a lot more and doing live videos. And I feel like it is, again, like accelerating things. So I feel like if you are saying that video is not for you, or that, you'll just do a podcast, or you'll just do written content, that's fine too. Those are great mediums, but also video has that magic that a lot of other places just don't have. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, we don't all start off super confident right on camera.
No. And I think that's true of pretty much everything in our businesses, right? When we first start, like, everything is an unknown, and you just get better at it. It's like blogging. You start and you look back, or if you're creative and you're designing something, if you look back at what you first created versus where you are today, it's like, I hope nobody sees that first. Or your first tweet, for crying out. Like, seriously, like, think of all the firsts. We forget that, business is a journey. We don't start out knowing everything.
100%. So there's this other element to doing live things, which is social selling and the social aspect. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what is that? How do people tap into that? A little bit more info. And then we do have some questions coming in too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a motto that's serve, don't sell. And then when I am in the mode of selling, meaning my intention when I go live is to sell something, I do it from a service place first. And then I usually use a very simple formula, and it's one that probably everybody has heard of, or at least can follow. And it is, here's the problem. Y'all listen, and I just keep it real. I just lay out the problem, and if there's multiple problems, I lay it out. Listen, this is the way I see it. This is what I've experienced, or, again, what I'm seeing, depending on the situation. And I get their buy-in. Are you having this problem? And they're like, oh my gosh, how does she know that I have this problem? And then I agitate it a little bit, poke it with the stick and say, well, I get it because I had the problem, or I see this with my clients all the time, or, whatever the scenario is. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own personal experience. You can say, I deal with this. I'm a coach. I see this all the time, or I'm a service provider. I see this all the time. And I got tired of seeing it. So I've created a solution. So it's a problem, agitate, solution structure. Talk about the problem, very conversational, get their buy-in, talk about, how you've seen it. And hey, have you guys seen it? Like, if you're coaches, or if you are blah, 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 are you seeing these problems? Again, it gets them to relate to the content, that there's absolutely a problem here. And then I present the solution. And that has worked very well for me. I don't really, and I'm not a hard sales person. I'm not like, hey, go buy this, or hey, we only have 5 of these, or, I don't do any of those things. I'm just about, hey, if you've got this problem, you need a solution to it. I've got a solution. If you want it, go get it, kind of thing. So I just do I call it a very, low key way of selling. I'm not a pressure salesman. I wouldn't even say I'm a salesperson. I usually just approach it through the lens of, if you're like me and you have this problem, I get it. I had the problem. Here's the solution. And, if I can help you solve it, perfect. If I can't, and that's the way I leave it. That has been a very successful strategy for me. I once created like $12,000 in sales in 20 minutes on Periscope using this exact same strategy. My number one conversion mechanism for selling is still my live videos. When I go live and I use this strategy, it is my highest, even it outperforms my email list.
That's amazing, because I know that email usually is such a high converter. So I love that social and live selling is really where you shine. And so how do you know like where to start in terms of like those problems that you're talking about? Like, do you do a lot of customer research? Is it when you do your one-on-one calls with potential clients? Like, how do you decide where to focus for some of those problem solution type things?
Such a great question. So my perfect person really is a previous version of me. So I get them. I have been them. And the challenge, though, if that's true for you, which it usually is for a lot of us have, our perfect person is a previous version of ourselves. The challenge really is you have to remember where you started. You can't forget that, because if you do, you've just missed out on a whole bunch of folks. So I start there, what was my challenges then? But I'm also very in tune with what people say, what they, especially even as you're doing these, problem, agitate, solution kind of types of lives. People are telling you things, and if you listen, you can use that language, you feed it right back to them. And sometimes I do it in the moment, like, hey, look, Lena is saying this. Lena, you are exactly right, girl. This is a problem. This is an additional problem to the one I just said, And so I just pull them in, sometimes literally live and in the moment. But truly listening is the gold, and creating opportunities to get them to talk to you, whether it's polls, if you have a Facebook group, or you don't necessarily have to have a Facebook group, but if you do, polls are great inside of a Facebook group. Send in an email asking, like, what's your biggest problem right now? All the things. It does take some time. I would even say that one of the things I've done fairly recently is I picked 50 people that were buyers, previous buyers, and I picked up the phone and I called them. And I got so much gold from that. Now, that took a lot of time and energy, but it also created sales, because while I had them on the phone, they told me they had this problem and I was able to help them solve it with something I had. So I didn't approach it through that lens. I wasn't trying to sell them something, but that was a byproduct. My intention by calling those 50 people was just product research. I was just trying to find out, or customer research more specifically, what was it that why did they buy the thing? Did it help them? I just had a list of questions, and I got so much gold from that. So that's it's more time consuming, but it could be tremendously valuable to you.
I love that. So obviously you've had a lot of experience with using different online course platforms and membership platforms over the years, and now you use Access Ally. So what were some of the problems maybe that you were having with the other platforms, and what led you to Access Ally, and kind of why you've stuck?
Well, so I'll approach this from why I love it now, and then I'll circle back to some of the other things. One, it gives me complete control of my content. I don't have to worry about it being somewhere else. So there's this old saying, never build your house on somebody else's land, right? And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. I'm not suggesting that, some of the like Thinkific or Teachable or some of the other, course tools are not reliable. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, having your content on your authority, built on your authority. Let's speak to it in that tone. Is very powerful. And that means, what that means is if somebody is looking for your course, for example, or they are looking for a course that has, that your course name, whether it's Facebook ads, training, or whatever it is, they're looking for it, they're going to find it on your site versus finding it, because Thinkific or Teachable is going to have a higher page rank than your domain, more than likely, unless you're Forbes, So that means that they're going to get your traffic versus your domain getting the traffic. So that's very powerful. And then obviously being able to custom create the look, the experience that my students have is very powerful, and you can't necessarily do that to the degree that we have done using Access Ally. So I'm just a visual person, so I've really appreciated that I have so much functionality, or I can use so much creativity versus being forced into a box on some of the other platforms. So those are kind of my big reasons for why I love Access Ally. But to go back directly to your question, we used Thinkific initially. And the reason that we decided to check out Access Ally and haven't looked back is something that was kind of very specific. Now, whether or not they've changed it, I'm not sure, but our problem at the time was that we had a membership, the Go Social Content Club, and people would come in at different times, and we couldn't control when they got access to it based on the date. So like if somebody came in on the 5th, we didn't want them to have access to the next month until the 5th, right? Otherwise they would have gotten a free month. If we just had access to it on the 1st every month, then people would have gotten 2 months essentially for free, or got 1 month for free if they decided to stop their membership. So we couldn't control that. I'm like, well, this is a problem. This is money here. We got to figure out this. So that's why initially we moved to Access Ally, and then like I said, we have not looked back. It has been, it was such a smart decision on our part. We didn't even really realize some of the benefits we were going to get when we initially moved.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And, one of the things I think people do when they're creating these courses that you're talking about, where, there's the curriculum, then there's also the coaching and the community, how do you deliver all of that? So you have videos, that's your curriculum maybe, and then the coaching maybe is a Zoom call. Like, I think sometimes people don't know how do you actually do that, right? And the community maybe is your Facebook group. I'm not totally sure what that all looks like, and people probably want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my Design to Scale program, which is all about this entire model, which is in some cases, taking an existing course that you have that you're selling for, some $297. I literally have had people come into my program. They were selling a course for $297. We helped them repackage it, reposition it, remessage it, and now they're selling it for $5,000. Same content. They just restructured it. And now they added the coaching component, they added the community component, the value proposition is way higher. But the way we teach it essentially is, again, repositioning it at a higher level, because you have the additional components, which are super value-based people right now. People are tired. I think that's why course sales, by the way, I didn't mention this before, but course sales across the board are way down. Why? Because they've already done this. They've already gone, think about it. You've done it. We've all bought the courses, opened it up, and okay, I'll come back to it tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes, y'all. So they know themselves now. There's know thyself, right? Like, okay, I've spent $2,000 on that thing and I haven't gone through it. I'll get around to it because I have it for lifetime, right? Or whatever. So the people know that they're not going to do the work really now. So it's why course sales, I think, are way down. But they also know they need assistance. And if somebody puts an offer in front of them, they still have the problem. They still want a solution to it. You've got the solution. You come along and say, I'll be your guide, I'll be your coach, and we're going to have a weekly Q&A call. This isn't necessarily the same as group coaching. So let me say that too. I think a lot of people mistake this for group coaching. It is a group environment, so you're not doing one-on-one calls, but it's not about you showing up and just vomiting on them, regurgitating content, which is what a lot of group coaching is. This is about you as the leader, the expert, showing up once a week and answering their questions about where they are, how this matters to them, and coming alongside them to help them get the transformation you promised them. And they'll still most likely not go through the curriculum, y'all. They're going to come and they're going to ask their questions, and then they're going to go take action on it. You may have some resources that might help them, but it's basically about taking existing content from, something that you might be selling for $297 all the way to maybe even $2,000, where you're not consistently selling it. And repackaging it, repositioning it, having a weekly call, Q&A, maybe two, depending on how much your community needs. And then the community aspect itself. Now, you mentioned Facebook. You can absolutely use Facebook, but I will say this, I'm not saying you can't use Facebook, but it goes back to, again, building your house on rented land, right? There's been a lot of talk about not doing that anymore. So we're currently using a platform called Tribe, but Access Ally is, they have a component to a community component now. And I think they're going to build that out way more, which I think will make Access Ally a one-stop shop when they totally get it up and operational, because it'll be very similar to a Facebook group. So that's going to be powerful, but there's other resources out there like Circle, that are community tools. So I think you just need to decide. The easiest path to least resistance would be probably in this order. If you're already using Access Ally, probably Access Ally as a place to start. A Facebook group would be least resistance too, because we all are familiar with it. And then maybe look at tools if you want something, like Tribe or Circle or something different. But you need that community aspect. Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. And yes, Community Ally is the Access Ally add-on. So it's not available to the general public. It's available to Access Ally clients. So definitely get in touch with us if you're
I hope I didn't
client.
drop the ball there. Or it's coming, y'all.
It's coming, exactly. And we are super excited about it. So yes, thank you for that mention. But yeah, so, okay, so somebody's like, okay, I want to do this. How can they work with you to help reorganize and restructure what they already have? Because I feel like it's essentially what we were talking about, where you were saying, you have all this content that you're creating all the time, you can repurpose it. This is repurposing your course and just kind of up-leveling it and making it awesome. So how can people find out more about how to work with you to do that?
Well, if you want to just have a quick conversation, I am not about selling people things that they don't need. So, but I do have a link that you can go book a call with me and see if this is a fit for you. I don't think it's for everybody, but I definitely feel like if you have knowledge and a true expertise that you're potentially just giving away, or you're not selling it consistently. So basically, my Design to Scale program is about helping people not just reposition and repackage and remessage it essentially, but it's about marketing it, and doing so consistently, so you do reach those 20K months. In fact, we have a plan to get you to 100K months. And if you would like to talk about it, just go to kimgarst.com/game plan call. And we'll have a quick conversation. No obligation, it's just, is this good? Would this be a fit for you?
Yes, I love that, Kim. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's one of those, when you have something, but it's just not quite working, you want to tweak it and you want to up level it, then working with someone who has done it, who's helped other people do it too, I think is super powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
I think you're going to, in fact, you'll see the whole, some people call it different things, high ticket programs, high ticket courses, hybrid programs. They're popping up everywhere, because what I've shared with you today is something that not only I am seeing in the space, it's other people who've traditionally taught courses. They're seeing the same thing. They're saying, hey, we have to shift this because what we've done in the past is not working. And I think that I've seen so many amazing things happen with my students so far, Whereas before they were kind of stagnant, they were stuck, they were waiting, for somebody to bump into their course. That's no way to really leverage and scale your knowledge. So this is just a model that works so much better for your students as well as for you financially. And the better part of it is the time commitment is so much less than if you are a coach and you're trading time for money.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of coaches who are trying to scale and then they kind of get stuck with the one-on-one, or even they do group coaching, but it doesn't quite have the results, or there's something else missing there. So this is like, I love the hybrid approach. And so one question I had actually, so you mentioned doing weekly calls and you're enrolling people maybe every month. So do your groups get bigger over time for those calls? Does that become a problem, or how do you kind of manage? And do you just have like an ongoing as you keep getting people into your program?
Such a great question. So far, it hasn't been a huge problem, but my intention, if it does, it will eventually become a problem. Because if you have, and I have no time limit. So when I say I do a weekly call, I'm not like, okay, we're here for an hour. We're going to only answer questions for an hour. Not the way I do business. We're there for as long as it takes. Everybody gets a turn. I don't limit the amount of time that I spend with each person. So right now, everything is just wide open. My intention is pour into these people and give them the result that they're after. But I feel like the more people we get into the program, the more it will become a concern. So you could do things like, limit your questions or the time spent with each person to 10 minutes, for example, right? And then if you can't get done in that amount of time, hey, I'll record a quick video for you and I'll drop it in the community, right? So that's one way to, affect that. But the way I think I'm going to approach it on the front side is to just split the calls. So traditionally what we have found is that there's two types of calls. There's what I would call more business focused questions, strategy questions, and then there is tech questions. So I think I'm going to split my day. I'm going to have 2 days a week. I'm going to, here's the strategy call. If you got a strategy question, or if you've got a tech question, and then we'll divide it up like that. So technically on tech calls, I wouldn't necessarily even have to be on those. I could have my team do those. So that's kind of my vision for how I ultimately want to do this, splitting it down the middle kind of thing. But my program is really focused on trying to keep the tech issues to a minimum. So a lot of our deliverables are things they'll need are pre-created for them. So that they don't have as many tech issues, because that's always the holdup. You tell somebody, here's the strategy, and they're like, okay, but like, how do I do that? So we're trying to make it super easy for people to get the transformation.
I love that. And yeah, of course, as a tech person, we definitely see that too, where people are like, I want to do this, and how do I do it? So yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a hurdle for a lot of the online. That's the thing. Online is awesome, but also there's a learning curve with the tech side sometimes. So definitely appreciate that. All right. Well, we're wrapping up for today. Thank you so very, very much, Kim, for being on with us live today. We had some great comments, and people are saying, great share about embracing video and just being okay with being human. I've overcomplicated video for way too long too. So it definitely seems like it's resonating for a lot of people here. And thank you so very much for being on. It was such a pleasure. Obviously, people can go to kimgarst.com. We'll have the link below. Also, I'll add it to the chat and the comments so people can go and connect with you there.
Awesome. I would love it. And if you have a question about anything and you just want to reach out, just send me a message over on Instagram. You can find me under my name. So it's just Kim Garst. I love voice messages. I'll always respond. So just send me a message. Ask me a question. I'm happy to answer.
That is super generous of you. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you everyone for watching the Seamless Scaling Show. We'll catch you in the next episode.